And now, ladies and gentlemen of the old world, we're back in business with the showdown between the vampire counts, who shall be led by crotchety old Heinrich KEMMLER. And today, my friends, we face off against the Greenskins, who shall be led by vicious Satsuma and Warzog, the dancing man himself. Now, as far as my build goes, it's pretty much the same build I've always used against Greenskins. Basically, in the front line, you have a couple zombies just to absorb the initial charge of the Greenskins, backed up by skeletons, which are then backed up by Sternsman and Graveguard for your final anchor piece. So you also need something to deal with like giants and monsters, because in the new meta, many Greenskin builds, I think, against vampire counts are going to have giants, are going to have Ragnarok spiders, are going to have rogue idols, a lot of big things to really just kind of try and, outlast you and just really grind down your forces. As such, that's why I always bring the double Banshee. Banshees are just so damn good against Greenskins. Now, Greenskins did get some new tools against them, or relatively new tools. They can bring the River Troll Hag, who of course have Death Magic and Spirit Leech without having to bring Azag. Vindictive Glare, Gaze of Mork, Fist of Gork can also imbue magic damage. So if you leave your Banshee out of position, they come into Fist of Gork, they can really smash your Banshees pretty quick. But if they don't have that stuff, or they miss those spells, or don't really get the good engagements, Banshees with their 75% physical resist, their good steady DPS can really actually bring down spiders, rogue idols, giants pretty damn effectively. On top of that, we have Heinrich KEMMLER. He's very cheap. He's got a cool looking horse. But more importantly, he does summon Krell. And Krell lasts quite a long time. And if you summon Krell behind a giant or any big monster, he not only causes terror, but he also does have anti-large. So he can really smash down those big targets pretty effectively. We got a Mortis Engine, we got some Fellbats, Cryptors. Again, though they don't have anti-large, but they have 34 melee attack with poison. And applying poison to like big monsters is really cost effective, because if you look at it, it's percent based. So the percentage of damage you're reducing from a giant is actually quite a bit when you compare it to like goblins or something like that. So getting the Cryptors stacked on top of skeletons gives you enough to block in the monsters. Therefore, the monsters can't push through the Cryptors, get on top of your Mortis Engine, or chase some of the other threats in your army. That's pretty much it from my main core. We got some Fellbats, and up in the forest, we do have some Blood Knights. Blood Knights are incredibly good against Greenskins. They wreck trolls, they wreck, pretty much any light armored infantry. They're good against giants, and are just probably, I guess my video's out now. They are one of the best cav units in the entire game, in my opinion. We do also have a Dire Pack over here in the hills. Dire Pack is anti-large, really good for chasing down Spider Riders and routing units, and also not bad against like trolls and giants and things like that. That's pretty much it for my build, and the Mortis Engine in the back as well. Now for Vicious Satsuma, he's got Orc Boys. He does have a little bit of a Daka line, so he's got Rusty Errors plus some Orc Air Boys, Orc Boys, and I think in the back he's got Nasty Skulkers backed up by Warzag with Brainbuster, Fist of Gork to imbue magic damage, and Gaze of Mork. Got a Goblin Big Boss for they need stabbing, a Giant as well, and it looks like it is going to be a couple Black Orcs on the flanks, maybe just one, no, two Black Orcs, which are a pretty good sustainable unit that is immune to psychology, but they also do take a big hammering from, Cryptors as well as Mortis Engine effects. Spider Riders, and I think over in the trees he does have a mighty Pump Wagon hiding. Yes, it is going to be the Snotling Pump Wagon, maybe just using it to kind of crowd clear a little bit. Nonetheless, the battle is underway. You can see the Fellbats are going to be circling away, just trying to find an opportunity to engage, really. I don't want to engage until my main force gets here, but when they do, you can send them in to temporarily shut down Orc Air Boys, other units like that, or more importantly, I think the better way to use Fellbats these days is just use them to chase things off. So maybe we'll be doing that. I can't quite remember how I actually played these guys. This game was on a live stream, actually. So the zombie horde moving forward, as are the skeletons, and here I'm going to be going for a flank overload, so I figured, hey, he doesn't have much over here. He's got some Pump Wagons, some Spider Riders, maybe some Skulkers hiding in the trees, but Dire Pack plus Blood Knights plus Savargul should be enough to overwhelm pretty much any Greenskin mobility, unless they just go crazy and bring like a ton of stuff, which they don't normally do in this matchup, considering there are Blood Knights. So the frontline fighting will be underway here in a moment. Orc Boys are going to be marching into the zombies, but I do pull back a little bit. I wanted to try and get a win over here before I took the main engagement, and I'm also trying to force the Orc Boys a little bit further away, and also make sure that he can't do a hard switch onto my Mortis Engine. So Vindictive Glare is used on the Mortis Engine. In the back, we are able to get the Vargulf plus the Dire Pack with their anti-large to actually nibble on the Snotling Pump Wagons, which is pretty much free real estate. Those guys should probably get terror routed here in a moment, and from there we should be able to get a natural break and actually chase them off the battlefield. Though it's not a ton of gold, but the Pump Wagons do cost, I think, what, 450? So it's a nice little grab. And the Blood Knights, I thought about doing a hammering charge into his archers, but I do accidentally screw up with my micro there, and he does catch me with some Black Orcs, so we will fall back probably before we take any serious damage. Now the frontline fighting is officially underway. You can see the Sternsman and the Graveguard are going to be having a very favorable engagement versus Orc Boys. These are not the Black Orcs, so the buffering for this Giant is going to be dissipating really quickly. A lot of DPS coming in, and a lot of Daka actually being switched onto my Mortis Engine, so I am forced to pull that bad boy back. Now you can see the double Banshees as well as Heinrich KEMMLER and Krell have been summoned. So Krell is here, and we have a relative surround here on the Giant. The Giant is going to be taking quite a bit of damage from those Shanks, and is forced back here as all my little spooky characters try and chase him down. Really nice Brainbuster coming in from the Greenskins though. He did use that from Warzog, doing a big old blast here on the Skeleton Warriors. And I am also going to be using a zombie summon to try and buck down the Rusty Errors. Now, as far as the backfield goes, Cryptors and zombies have surged over here trying to get some free value on the Black Orcs, but his Daka line is putting some hurt on me here. So I do commit the Fellbats to the engagement, trying to shut them down. And a really nice smoke bomb as well here from Satsuma is going to be pretty much guaranteeing that my Cryptors don't get away. So I don't really have any option of retreating them now. In the meantime, the Dire Pack was able to chase off the Pump Wagon. Now we're going to be using the Dire Pack to chase down these Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and we do have the speed advantage. I think 72 against 78. Granted, I don't think, he has the advantage, but that's only because of the poison. We do get the acceleration, and the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, look how quickly they just get dumpstered by those doggos. Certainly very good hounds there, the best of boys. So Mortis Engine did take a lot of damage. I had to run this bad boy up into the hills. I'm going to be pulling it back now. Banshees in the meantime, I'm just spam clicking, trying to go after the Giant. He did actually use Fist of Gore, computing magic damage, but it's better to use it on like the Goblin Big Boss or the Giant because, each of those Orc Biggins is so mucked up fighting zombies and other troops like that, it's not really able to effectively get where it wants to. So after we did finish off the Spider Riders, I do use my Dire Pack to collapse into the back of the Orc Boys, but the Wa is active, so now Satsuma's entire army is actually immune to Psychology, so they're not going to be terror routing against Krell, the Banshees, or against Mortis Engine. On the far side, Mortis Engine does come in, going after the Black Orcs here, and the Black Orcs will get drained, but it's still a very dangerous engagement for me. If his Daka is able to take out the Mortis Engine with a little bit of focus fire, I could be in a very, very tough pickle, especially considering he does have Effigy of the GIT. In the meantime, we have the Duel of Duels. We have Heinrich KEMMLER and his hounds fighting against Wurzag. Heinrich KEMMLER coming over here, trying to go after the Giant, but actually a bit of a misplay. I overextended, and now suddenly Heinrich KEMMLER is trapped. There's a Giant beating on him here. Effigy of the GIT is active. Really good awareness by Satsuma here, catching me in my mistake. And now this could honestly be something that just loses me the game. Currently, I'm ahead in the balance of power. We're doing some good damage, but without my Lord and Invocations, it could go back in his favor and be a really, really tough situation to get out of. In the meantime, Stern's been pushing forward. Obviously, most of his army is Biggins and Orc Boys, none of which are very good against Graveguard type units. Graveguard will just mincemeat those guys. I do lose some Fanatics as well, or he does, excuse me. So used to playing Greenskins, and it does go through and tear through some of my Skeletons and Chaff units, but Heinrich KEMMLER is able to escape here, but maybe not my Mortis Engine. 615, 530, 500, negative 36 leadership. It is crumbling, so seeing I actually took a lot of damage, leaving my Blood Knights in combat with the Black Orcs, I will be pulling them all back together and getting a big old juicy Invocation. Nice Vindictive Glare or Gaze of Mort going down from Wurzag as well. Now you guys can see the Bounce Power is pretty much dead even again. He's been able to wreck my Blood Knights, Mortis Engine, and Lord, all in the span of like 30 seconds in this game after he did pop the Wop. But we get a very juicy Invo right here, which is going to be healing up all my really powerful assets, hopefully allowing me to maintain my lead or at least get it back, because currently he's doing a really good job. So the Vargulf is still very healthy, a very good character assassin against Greenskins. Going to be going after the Goblin Big Boss here, but I realize chasing him isn't going to be the most prudent decision, as it's very, very needed back here in the battlefield. Dire Pack and zombies getting worn down by Black Orcs, but I do see a Goblin Big Boss here who certainly needs some Gorilla pounding. So the Vargulf, the Bat Gorilla creature, going to be going in and trying to take out that Big Boss. And now the Mortis Engine, Heinrich KEMMLER are all back in business, which is huge. And even a Mortis Engine with 1,000 HP is still a huge threat. And also I have the Blood Knights as a sweeper. So I figured, hey, let's get the Banshees, just wear down the Giant, use the Blood Knights as a sweeper unit. The Mighty Knights of Red Keep, certainly very good at that. Stay away from the Skulkers and potentially prosper. Now, here you can see the Banshees. I think one of them is a little bit low, but you can see the Giant's been beating on this Banshee for like 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, but like a minute. And it's been able to endure, especially with a little bit of Invo support. And it has been able to wear down the Giant. So the Giant here is at 1,500 HP. But another damn Waz here. Now the Black Orcs are going to be rear charging my Sternsbin, and that's going to be pretty devastating for sure. I do use the Zombie Summon on top of the Skulkers to keep them from catching Heinrich KEMMLER and keep them away from the Blood Knights, and the Blood Knights are just doing great work. 59 kills, but many more to come as they do break off those Orc Biggins. On the far side, I do commit the Mortis Engine, realizing it's crumbling and it wasn't going to stop crumbling, so I get it in combat, at least get some draining out of it. 94 leadership, but yeah, now it's going to be going down. It does explode though, hit some of the Black Orcs, which is a cool effect. I don't know how much damage it does, and really just trying to get the Vargulf to bully that Goblin Big Boss, but I didn't realize that he's actually on foot, so he's been getting knocked around quite a bit instead of actually taking damage. Finally, we get some contact there. Scary stuff indeed. Over here, another Effigy of the GIT used on the Banshee, which of course does magic damage. The other Banshee is going after his Lord, and I kind of realize here I need to break this pocket, get my Banshees, isolate Wurzag, and take him out, because the effigies and his missile attacks are pretty much the only thing left in my opponent's army that are going to be able to take out the Banshees. So I really, really need to take down Wurzag here. But he uses Get Back here, which buffs up his Goblins. I do use a Zombie Summon in response to try and break down the nasty Skulkers who are surrounded. They're terrified, fighting an ethereal unit. So that's a pretty big situation for me. A good one for sure. So the Giant here is finally broken. 371, the Banshees with their little ethereal prison shanks were finally able to drag down this beastie. This is a good situation. Most of the Greenskin strength is over here. Black Orcs here, and I do have an isolation here on Wurzag, which means the Banshees, who of course are much faster than him on foot, can chase him down in conjunction here with the big old Vargulf. And yeah, it does not look like Wurzag's going to be dancing Never gonna dance again. Greenskin feet have got no rhythm. Warzog here, gonna get hunted. My terrible music addition there. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But Warzog's down for the count. Without him, the Black Orcs are kind of leaderless, and the Banshees are going to be able to cut through the Black Orcs no problem. I'll be able to take out the big boss. Vargulf is still healthy, and I still do have a fair amount of summon fuel as well. And here are the Blood Knights up to 108 kills, just kind of shrekking about. And this is when I noticed in the game that he was on foot. I was like, wait a second, that's not a Wolf Rider. It's not a Spider Rider. I'm able to get some good shock damage. Now coming into the Archers, the Knights of Red keep. Man, just such good units. I mean, even just being like brutally beaten in the early game, a couple of them come back and are just such a potent sweeper unit, able to finish off giants, deal with leadership. Very, very good, good beastie boys indeed. So the Blood Knights able to kill the Archers. Now going to sweep around, go after the other Archers. They do also have the Flag of Red keep, so they have the missile resist when they're not engaged in melee. So I need to get around and finish off these other Archers. But now the Banshees are coming back. Heinrich KEMMLER laughing all the way to the bank and getting stuck actually on the carcass here of the giant. A couple Fanatics have been loosed. All you need is a couple. Going into the Sternsbin, doing some actually big HP damage. Did about 400, and that wasn't even like a direct hit. But from here, the Greenskins should not have much more to do because the double Banshees and the Vargulf are still healthy. And that's going to be all she wrote for the Green Tide. So well played. It was actually a really close game. That game, I felt like I was in a commanding position, but then he had a couple really nice plays against my Blood Knights, Heinrich KEMMLER, and my Mortis Engine that almost got him back in the game. But from there, we were able to isolate the giant, beat down the big bosses with the Vargulf, and use the Blood Knights to sweep up the rest of the Archers. But man, it was a really, really close game. And as far as the build goes, I don't know, I don't really know how to play this from the Greenskin perspective. It's better now. I honestly think like a Rogue Idol could be pretty good. But you got to deal with the Mortis Engine. That's a bit of an issue, right? Because like the Mortis Engine can stay out of range of the Rogue Idol. So it makes me wonder, I don't know, let's go to the drawing board in Theorycraft a little bit. So very well played to Satsuma. It was, and I guess, his build could have won potentially, right? If a couple things had gone differently. So maybe like that's the direction you go. I do agree with the Black Orcs. They're just such a good anchor piece and they really, really just last forever. But yeah, well played to Satsuma. Let's go ahead and take a look at a Greenskin build against Vampire Counts. We'll see you guys in just a moment. All right, so let's jump over here. Let's do it to it. Custom battles. So Greenskins against Vampire Counts. It used to be a hard one for sure. I think it's certainly better now. Do you want to get like Grimgor? Like Grimgor with Hunter of Champions. I mean, you're next. It has to be used on Lords or Heroes. So it's not going to be so good against like a Heinrich pick or anything. Against Banshees, I mean, I guess if you gave him magic damage, Grom the Paunch could be something to consider too, considering he regenerates and he's very tough to snipe, which is pretty much how the vampires like to play the game. Plus, maybe Grom with Fist of Gork could be really good. Yeah, and he's hard to snipe. He has anti-infantry, so if you give him Fist of Gork, you could probably kill Banshees really quick. So from here, I'd probably get a Giant River Troll Hag, cut the Vomit, you don't really need that. And I would just bring probably just Spirit Leech on her. And then from there, maybe an Orc Shaman. The Orc Shaman would have probably these three spells. Your Winds of Magic is going to be a little bit taxed, but I suppose it's not a big deal just for tactical flexibility. Brain Bust is just super good. And Gaze and Mork is really cheap as well and really good against Banshee type units. So maybe you do something like this. All right, so for the front line, I do like the Black Orc inclusion. You could go with like a ton of Biggins as well. But like, how do you deal with the Vampire Count Mortis Engine? Do you just go like with your own mobility? Because that's the thing. Like if you go too heavy and elite, you're not going to be able to deal with the Mortis Engine. So maybe we bring the Rogue Idol. It gives leadership. Certainly can crump through hordes of like stuff, and it'll be tough for Blood Knights to kill with its armor values. Yeah, I don't know. The army's already getting so expensive, You have to bring the Fanatics. They're just really good. This could honestly be your front line. It could be pretty narrow. If you're going to go for Archers, I suppose you go for Orc Airboys. But then, look, with all this, it's so hard to get the Rogue Idol plus the Elite Infantry and then also have the tools to deal with the mobility. Okay, so if they have Hounds, maybe you have to just do this. You have to get, some Spider Riders and kite their Heavy Cav and deal with their Hounds using your own mobile pressure here. And then maybe just get, a mobile core of, these units. You could do this, something like this, and then from here just get a couple more supporting elements, like maybe some more cav or something. The Rogue Idol, Grom the Paunch will help deal with any infantry, like him plus Black Orcs will wreck the Sternsbin. If they come in with what I brought, yeah, Sternsbin aren't a problem, Chaff isn't a problem, the Rogue Idol, Vargulf is going to be okay here, but yeah, you should be able to deal with it potentially with your mobile play. Maybe you just need to get more mobility to try and deal with it. Get these guys or something. 62 speed though, Blood Knights can catch them. If the Blood Knights can catch them, you're going to have a really bad time. You could also get Dirk and Squighoppers, 82 speed, really good at actually clearing off Dire Pack because they have bonus versus infantry, and Wolves are infantry sized. So maybe something like that. You use the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers to maybe take out the big monsters, and then just anchor down, or use them to take out the Mortis Engine is actually what I meant to say. Plus Spirit Leech and the sniping from these characters could be something to consider. And Maybe get some Skulkers for a slow. Yeah, a build like this might work. This is like one school of thought. Like you have the Hag, who's also a pretty good combatant and big mass. So Spirit Leeches, plus Vindictive Glares, Brainbusters, and Rogue Idol for crowd clearing. To win the mobile game, you have the Spider Riders plus the Squig Hoppers. You kite the Blood Knights out. You shoot the Mortis Engine down. You clear out the Dogs and Bats. Okay, so that's one school of thought. I actually had another build that I was working on. So Greenskins versus Vampires. This was another one I was thinking about. Use Skarsnik, Hag, pretty similar setup. You have Biggins, Blackworks, Rogue Idol, a couple Archers, and you just try and use the Rampage mechanics to pull in the Mortis Engine, finish it off. A couple different ways to play it. I don't know. I feel like going to infantry heavy is rough, though. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the game plus the breakdown, and we'll see you guys with more content soon. Take care.